Good morning all. Welcome to the geography class of class 12 ISC. Today we'll start a new chapter, chapter 4, drainage, which is from page number 46 to page number 54 in your book. First of all, we will go through the objectives of the chapter. In this chapter, we will study about the evolution of Indian river system, evolution of the Himalayan rivers, Indo-Brahma theory, evolution of the peninsular rivers, the drainage system of India, the Indus drainage system, which includes river Indus and its tributaries, namely Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas and Satluj, the Ganga drainage system, which includes river Ganga, Yamuna, Ghagra, Gandak and Kosi. In this chapter, we will also study the Brahmaputra drainage system, the peninsular rivers, which are divided into three parts. Rivers flowing in Bay of Bengal. They are Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Subarnarekha and Brahmani. Rivers flowing in the Arabian Sea, namely Narmada, Tapi, Sabarmati and Mahi. And rivers that join river Yamuna and Ganga in the north. They are river Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Son and Ken. At last, we will study the differences between the Himalayan and the peninsular river systems. Let us see the objectives of today's class. In today's class, we will study about the evolution of Indian river system, evolution of the Himalayan rivers, the Indo-Brahma theory, evolution of the peninsular rivers, the drainage system of India, the Indus drainage system, that is river Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas and Satluj. Now children, for testing your previous knowledge, I have a few questions. I hope that all of you will be able to give the answers to all these questions. Question number 1. Name some sources of water. Question number 2. Name a few rivers of India. Question number 3. What do you mean by source of a river and the mouth of a river? Question number 5. Which is the longest river of India? Question number 6. Name a few features formed by rivers. Next question. Name any two rivers that fall in the Bay of Bengal. And the last question is name any two rivers that fall in Arabian Sea. Now it is the time to go through some technical terms which are related to today's topic. The first term is drainage system. The flow of water through well-defined channels is known as drainage and the network of such channels is known as drainage system. For example, river Ganga and its tributaries form a well-defined drainage system in India. Gorge. A gorge is a narrow valley with steep rocky walls located between hills or mountains. For example, the Grand Canyon formed by river Colorado in USA is the deepest gorge in the world. The next term is perennial river. A perennial stream or perennial river is a stream or river which has constant flow of water throughout the year through parts of its stream bed during years of normal rainfall. For example, river Ganga is a perennial river of India as it has water throughout the year. Antecedent stream. An antecedent stream is a stream that maintains its original course and pattern despite the changes in underlying rock topography. Means these are the rivers which do not change their direction due to the physical features. The examples of antecedent rivers in India are River Indus, Ganga, Yamuna, Brahmaputra and their tributaries. Means we can say that the Himalayan rivers are antecedent rivers. Tributary. A tributary is a stream or a river which flows into a larger river. A tributary does not flow directly into a sea or ocean, but it joins the main river. For example, River Yamuna is the most important tributary of River Ganga. The other tributaries of River Ganga are River Gomti, Ghagra, Gandak, Kosi, which rise from the Himalayas, and River Chambal, Betwa, Ken and Son, which rise from the peninsular plateau. The next term is watershed. Watershed is defined as any surface area from which water runoff resulting from rainfall is collected and drained through a common point. It is synonymous with a drainage basin or catchment area. Means we can use the term watershed for a drainage basin or catchment area of any river. The next term is basin. A river basin is the part of land through which a main river and all its tributaries flows. Example, Ganga basin. Or we can say a basin is an area drained by a river and its tributaries. The next term is estuary. An estuary is an area where a freshwater river or stream meets the ocean. When freshwater and seawater combine, the water becomes brackish or slightly salty. The example of estuary in India are the estuaries found by river Narmada and Tapi at their mouth. Next, we have the term delta. A river delta is a landform created by deposition of sediment that is carried by a river as the flow leaves its mouth and enters slower moving or stagnant water. It means that a delta is formed at the point where a river falls in a ocean or sea. The best example of delta in India is the Sundarban Delta formed by river Ganga and Brahmaputra. The next term is catchment area. The catchment area of a river is the area of land from which water flows into the river. For example, the catchment area of river Ganga lies in Uttaranchal, UP, Bihar, West Bengal, etc. Next, we have the term badland. The term badland is applied to any such erosion landscape where a maze of ravines and valleys dissects plateau surfaces. Means such land is dissected or eroded by many rivers. For example, river Chambal, which is a tributary of river Yamuna, has created large badland in its course. The last term is Rift Valley. A rift valley is a linear shaped lowland between several highlands or mountain ranges created by the action of geologic rift or fault. A rift valley is formed on a divergent plate boundary, a crustal extension or spreading apart of the surface, which is subsequently further deepened by forces of erosion. The best example of Rift Valley is the Great Rift Valley of East Africa. Now, let us start the topic for today. India is blessed with hundreds of large and small rivers which drain the length and breadth of the country. The rivers constitute an important natural resource and form lifelines of the Indian masses. The drainage pattern of India is influenced by the relief of the land. Now we'll study about the evolution, that is the birth of the Indian river system. Before we proceed to know about the present nature of the drainage system in India, it is necessary to understand its evolution. The present drainage of India is the result of set process of evolution. Two broad divisions of the drainage of India can be recognized on the basis of their evolution. They are the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. Now let us study the Himalayan rivers. Three major rivers of the Himalayas are the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra. They originate on the southern slopes of the Tibetan highlands. They first flow parallel to the mountain and then take a sudden bend towards the south, cutting deep gorge in Himalayan ranges. I told you that gorges are the valleys which are deep and they resemble I-shaped of English alphabet. The gorges of the Indus, Satluj, Alaknanda, Gandak, Kosi and Brahmaputra clearly indicate that these rivers existed even before the Himalayan ranges were formed. These rivers continued to flow by cutting the mountain ranges as these ranges rose, leading to the formation of deep gorges. Thus, the Himalayan rivers are typical examples of antecedent drainage. We have already discussed that the antecedent rivers do not change their course. They flow in the same direction as they were flowing from ancient time, that is from the time of their birth. Now children, let us study about the Indo-Brahm theory. According to geologists, the Shivalik hills run parallel to the main Himalayan ranges and are formed of alluvial deposits consisting of sand, clays and boulder conglomerates. These deposits were laid down by a mighty stream which flowed from Assam to Punjab and even beyond up to Sindh in Pakistan. It finally emptied itself into a gulf which occupied parts of the Sindh and the lower Punjab in Miocene period in present-day Pakistan. This stream, also known as the Indo-Brahm or the Shivalik river, this river carried the combined silt, that is mud, from the three main rivers, the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra, and deposited huge quantities of alluvium. Later, this mighty stream dismembered into the following system and subsystems: the Indus, the 5 tributaries of the Indus in Punjab, the Ganga and its Himalayan tributaries, and the stretch of the Brahmaputra in Assam and its Himalayan tributaries. The dismemberment was the result of two events. Firstly, upheavals of the western Himalayan, including the Potwar Plateau of Pakistan in the Pleistocene age, and headward erosion by the tributaries of Indo-Brahma river. As a result of the above mentioned dismemberment of the Indo-Brahm river, the Indus and its tributaries, the Ganga and its tributaries, and the Brahmaputra and its tributaries came into being. It is supposed that initially the Yamuna was a tributary of the Indus, but it was annexed by Ganga later on and it became the tributary of river Ganga. However, this theory has been challenged on the following grounds. It is not necessary to imagine a stream of the size of Indo-Brahm flowing all along the length of the Himalayas to explain the occurrence of the Shivalik deposits. These deposits could be brought down by the rivers flowing down the slopes of the Himalayas. The evidence furnished by the depositional history of the Ganga Delta and in Assam does not fit well with the concept of Indo-Brahm stream. The gap between the Rajmahal Hills in northern plain and the Shillong Plateau has been filled by a very thick mantle of alluvium. The time taken to deposit such a large quantity of alluvium should be much longer than suggested by the Indo-Brahm theory. The evidence of the Tipam sandstones of Assam, which were deposited by an estuary situated so close to the source of the Indo-Brahm, also speaks against the theory. Now children, let us study about the peninsular rivers. The broad, graded and shallow valleys of the peninsular rivers indicate that these rivers existed much before the Himalayan rivers came into being. These rivers have acquired maturity and do mostly lateral cutting instead of vertical cutting. Most of the peninsular rivers flow from west to east, with notable exceptions of Narbada and Tapi. These two rivers flow in the trough which have not been found by them. The Western Ghats used to form the original watershed. Watershed is a highland from where rivers flow in two or more directions. But due to submergence of the western flank of the peninsular block, the general symmetry of the peninsular rivers are disturbed. The second distortion took place at the time of formation of Himalayan rivers, when the northern flank of the peninsular block suffered subsidence and consequently trough faulting took place. The Narmada and the Tapi flow in such trough faults, means they flow from rift valleys and represent consequent drainage. Now children, let us study about the drainage system of India. On the basis of origin, two broad drainage systems of India are generally recognized. They are number 1, the Himalayan rivers, number 2, the peninsular rivers. The rivers originating from the Himalayas consist of three main drainage systems. They are the Indus drainage system, the Ganga drainage system and the Brahmaputra drainage system. Now children, let us study the Indus drainage system. The Indus drainage system comprises of the Indus river and its 5 main tributaries. They are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas and Satluj. The Indus river rises in Tibet at an altitude of 5,180 meters near Mansarovar Lake. It flows west and northwest and enters Indian territory in Jammu and Kashmir. The river, forming a spectacular gorge in this, pierces the Kailash range several times. It flows through Ladakh and Baltistan and reaches Gilgit. Finally, it emerges out in the hills at Attock. The Indus River flows southwestwards from Attock towards Pakistan. It crosses Pakistan from north to south and reach the Arabian Sea east of Karachi. The Indus has a total length of 2,880 kilometers, which is one of the largest rivers of the world. It has a catchment area of 1,165,000 square kilometer, out of which 3,21,290 square kilometer lies in India. India can, however, utilize only total 4,195 million cubic meters, that is only 20% out of the total water discharge of River Indus according to the regulations of Indus Water Treaty signed between India and Pakistan. The Jhelum rises in a spring at Verinag, situated in the southeastern part of the valley of Kashmir. From its source in Verinag, it flows northwards to Lake Vuller and further southwestwards until it enters a gorge cut by this river in the Pir Panjal range. It turns to the northwest from here below Uri and to the south below and reaches Muzaffarabad in Pakistan, and it continues until it reaches the Mangla Dam. Between Muzaffarabad and Mangla, it turns towards Indo-Pakistan border. It joins river Chenab near Jhang in Pakistan. Now children, let us see the source and the course of river Chenab. The Chenab of Jammu and Kashmir state is also known as Chandrabhanga in Himachal Pradesh. Chandrabhanga flows north westwards and runs parallel to Pir Panjal range for some distance. Near Kishtwar, it cuts a deep gorge in the Pir Panjal range and turns southwards and flow in this direction for a short distance. Further, it turns to the west and enters the plain of Akhnoor in Pakistan. Then it finally merges with river Jhelum in Pakistan. Now children, let us study about river Ravi. The source of river Ravi lies near Rohtang Pass. It flows to the northwest from its place of origin and drains the area lying between southeastern part of the Pir Panjal range and the Dhauladhar range to reach Chamba after flowing for a short distance towards northwest. From Chamba, it turns to the southwest and cuts a gorge in the Dhauladhar range and enters Punjab plain near Madhopur. It is joined by river Chenab in Pakistan. It being a part of Indo-Pakistan boundary, the river has some strategic importance. It joins the Chenab near Multan in Pakistan. Its total length is 720 km. Next we have river Byas. River Byas originates from a place known as Byas Kund near the Rohtang Pass. From Rohtang Pass, it runs to the north to south. It passes Manali and Kullu, where its valley is popularly known as Kullu Valley. It crosses the Dhauladhar range through a deep gorge. Further down, it turns to the west and enters Punjab plain near Talwar. After entering the plain, it turns to the southwest and joins the Satluj near Harike after flowing for a length of 615 km. Children, let us study about river Satluj. Satluj originates from Rakas Lake near Mansarovar at an altitude of 450 meters in Tibet. This lake is connected with Mansarovar Lake by a stream. It follows the northwestwards direction and enters Himachal Pradesh at Shipkila Pass. Further down, it flows westward. It cut deep gorges where it pierces the Himalayan range. Before entering the Punjab plain, it cuts a deep gorge where Bhakra Dam is situated. Below Roopnagar, that is Ropar, it turns to the west. It joins river Bias in Punjab at Harike. Its total length is 1440 km. It then reaches Pakistan and is joined by river Indus there. During its journey, it receives the collective water of the Bias, Ravi, Chenab and Jhelum before joining with river Indus. The table shows that river Indus has a total basin area of 11,65,000 square kilometer, out of which 3,21,290 kilometer square lies in India. River Ganga has a total basin area of 10,60,000 square kilometer, out of which 8,61,404 square kilometer lies in India. River Brahmaputra has a total basin area of 5,80,000 square kilometer, out of which only 1,87,110 square kilometer lies in India. The total basin area of river Jhelum within India is 34,775 square kilometer. River Bias has the total basin area within India of about 20,303 square kilometer, whereas river Ravi has basin area within India of about 14,442 square kilometer, and river Satluj has the total basin area within India of about 66,317 square kilometer. So children, with this we have completed our today's topic. Now let us go through the objectives of today's class. In today's class we have studied about the evolution of the Indian river system, evolution of the Himalayan rivers, the Indo-Brahm theory, evolution of the peninsular rivers, the drainage system of India, the Indus drainage system, which includes river Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias and Satluj. Now it is the time for you to take your homework. You have to write the answers of a few questions in your copy. The first question is, describe the evolution of the Himalayan rivers. Number 2, describe the Indo-Brahm theory about the evolution of Indian rivers. Question number 3, describe the evolution of the peninsular rivers. Question number 4, on the basis of origin, how do we classify the drainage system of India? Question number 5, on the basis of following points, describe the Indus river system. Number 1, origin and the mouth of river Indus and its tributaries. Number 2, the course followed by river Indus and its tributaries. Children, you also have to mark the answers of short type questions exercise 1 and long answer type questions exercise 2. on your book. I will read the questions for you. The first question is, write short notes on River Indus. Number 2, what is a gorge? Give 2 examples from North India. Question number 6, describe the term antecedent drainage and name 3 antecedent rivers of India. Exercise 2nd, question number 1. Explain briefly the theory of the Indo-Brahma River as believed by some geologists. Also mention the 2 principal grounds on which the theory has been discarded. Children, with this we come to the end of today's class. Hope that you have understood today's topic nicely. You have to read your book from page number 46 to page number 49. You must see the given use school YouTube link. We will very soon meet with a new topic in a new video. Till then, keep exploring, keep learning, stay safe and happy. Thank you.